What's up? What's up? Hey, everyone. So, Tim, we're going to give it a few minutes and allow people to join us. But I just want to know how you doing today. I didn't even ask you that. How are you?
I'm doing good. Excited to talk about what we're gonna talk about. But yeah, I'm doing good. Just managing.
So, how you been doing with COVID and such?
I'm staying in the house.
That's
I
good.
am an overweight black man, so COVID is desiring to have me at the
You know,
city.
Tim, for real, I saw 3 young guys this week that fit that description that has died from COVID. That is so true.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I have type 2, so I know that that's the thing, and I'm very serious about staying in the house.
Yeah.
Not to mention that my children come and spend time with me on the weekends, and I want to make sure that I don't expose them to anything.
Hmm.
So I take it seriously. Of course, we've not gone back into live worship because I had a feeling that what we're dealing with right now was going to
What's
happen.
going to happen?
Yeah, I saw it on Good Morning America that they, of course, have some churches that open back up, and now their people have it. And now the pastor is saying, of course, we don't want to lose anybody and have to live with that, knowing that they got it and died because they came to church. Well, I was saying that on the front end. Many of us were.
Right,
I talked to a
right.
lot of my pastors, my friends we're in the same network. And that's what those of us in our network that's in Atlanta, Metro Atlanta, we had decided that we weren't even going to revisit going back to church until August. And we're going to see what the fall holds. But now it's just not wise.
Yeah, it's not at all.
I mean, look at Mary Keisha. Mary Keisha got it with no symptoms,
Uh-huh.
which means you can carry.
Yeah, that is true. And I don't think people realize that you could definitely be carriers.
Yeah.
So we got to be safe. We got to keep washing our hands and wear your mask in public.
Yes. I
And I
keep.
know I frowned when I said that because I am so serious about it. I don't like wearing a mask either.
I don't
I
either.
can't breathe because I have very severe outdoor allergies. So I'm
Mhm.
always somewhere, can't breathe, nose running, eyes running.
Mhm.
But I wear that mask
Yeah.
because I don't want to get sick and I don't want anyone else to get sick.
Yes,
So
and I
why?
take it, and even when I'm out and I may put it under my nose a little bit, when I'm walking about to go down the aisle where people are, I make sure I put it
Put
back,
it up. Yeah.
not just for me, but for them, and of
Mhm.
course it's supposedly mainly for them. But I take it seriously. I bought a lingerie basket where you wash your lingerie in to wash
Mhm.
my masks so they don't mess up and get caught all up in my my washing machine. But I mean, I take wearing masks seriously because I feel like that's gonna help us.
Oh, that's a good idea. And in between time, hey Marsha and Leah, they said hi. So in between time, um, you can throw them in the dryer.
Hmm.
Like if you don't want to wash it every day, you can throw them in the hot dryer, and that'll kill germs.
Oh, okay.
So just a tidbit, and then you don't have to wash it every day. So
Oh,
Tim, if
good.
you want to see who's making comments live, you
Uh-huh.
can click on comments versus the chat at the top.
Perfect. I see
All
it.
right, so then you can see. All right, guys, we're gonna get started. We've been on about 3.5 minutes, and wanted to give people time to jump on to see that red light and come this way instead of Krispy Kreme.
Chris Gray, right.
I cracked myself up.
Show
All
the
right,
world.
what's hot with the circuit today? Listen, it's this is a hot topic. I'm gonna have to get myself straight today. And I talked to Tim a couple of days ago. You all know, if you've been watching the circuit, those that are new to the circuit, Tim is not new to the circuit. He's been with us before. He's a life coach and an executive coach who concentrates on training leaders to reach their growth potential. And so we're happy to have him back today. But the most exciting thing, hey, Risa Murray, all the way from Dubai. Hey, girl.
Yeah, go ahead.
Um, so the exciting thing about Tim is he's also a pastor. So he's my friend, he's my coach, and my pastor. So we're excited that he's here today, and he's going to talk to us, but he's also getting me straight. So let me tell you how today's topic happened. So I tell you all the time, these virtual conversations are often literally conversations that I have, and they turn into checkpoints, and I want to share it with y'all. That's literally what it is. And so I was talking to Tim the other day about the circuit and where we were, and it was time to update our calendar for the next month. So initially the circuit is supposed to be every other week, and I get on a roll and we start going back to back to back. And if you've been watching the last few weeks, we were back to back to back talking about white privilege, Black privilege, mothers of Black sons, and we're hoping to do fathers of Black sons. So, there's just been a lot of information on top of everything that's going on top of work, on top of creating more work. I was just tired. So last week I was like, I can't do it. I just canceled the show and I took a breather. I literally had some rest over the weekend. I did not open my computer, but maybe once between last Friday and last Sunday. But even going into this week, I realized that rest was part of what was happening, but there is some more rest that needs to happen in order for me to be the best Candy there is, for me to be the best experience director, the best event producer, the best daughter, the best sister, the best aunt, and the best friend, and the best vessel for God. And I still need you to check me on that, Tim.
Yeah, I think when you mentioned it, it's like, what are we going to talk about? I was like, sounds like we need to talk about rest and self-care, because I think what is important in that is, and one of the lines that you didn't say in your list, is that you're a caregiver intending to, helping your dad and your parents get back and forth. You are a caregiver. And so caregivers have to take care of themselves so they can take care of others. And so being that vessel that God wants you to do, that is the overarching, that is the bowl, if you will. I'm a vessel of God, but inside of that, I am multifaceted. And so that is, well, wow. So being multifaceted is one of the images that we get of God. So when we hear in the Bible, behold, O Israel, the Lord your God is one God, and thou shalt love him with all your heart, your mind, your soul. Okay. Mm-hmm. The word one is ikad, which means one, but not like one finger, but like one hand, meaning I have many fingers, 5 fingers on one hand. So when we are looking at ourselves as being multifaceted, we are looking at ourselves like our God. We're multifaceted. So because of that, we have to rest, because there are a lot of places and people that pull on us, and that's okay. We're designed for that, but we're also designed for rest. So we'll talk about that in a little bit. Go ahead.
You go ahead.
Oh, okay.
So I'm gonna be honest. My parents take care of me.
Okay.
They take care of me.
Okay.
And I do what I can, but they really amaze me with the stuff that they're still doing. Although I do have to check them sometimes. Like, y'all still young, so let's keep it moving.
Okay.
They are truly an inspiration.
Good.
But in the midst of everything, I sometimes don't know how to be still. So it's like you have to keep going. And then when I start something, I dig in real hard. So I can imagine, just talking to some of my friends right now, guys and girls. Hey, cousin Erica. Hey, Sharita. Guys and girls. Yeah. That what is it?
Sharita.
Okay. Hi, Sharita. People that are working from home right now, that have been blessed with the opportunity to stay at home out of the midst of the elements, with everything that's going on, but then they have kids, or they have pets, or they have spouses, or whatever. I'm sure you're feeling the heat too. It's a lot. And then school is about to start, and they're saying that the kids might really not be going to school. Or you can make the decision if your child goes to school.
Sure.
So what does that say? So how do you balance that? How do you deal with that? Because you're doing, and then you feel bad when you take a nap in the middle of the day. But then when you get slapped down because you don't feel good, and you have to take a nap in the middle of the day, what does that look like? And sometimes it's not even about a nap or sleep, but that rest may come from just taking a drive, taking a drive around the block, or some kind of way detaching your mind from the people that are feeding off of you. So whether it could be just work.
Yeah.
So
I think
I have to get checked on that.
Well, I think we need to realize, and I want to say this to everybody, that self-care is not about self-indulgence.
Yeah.
Okay. It's about refreshing and renewing your mind, your spirit, and your body. That's what self-care is about. So some people feel guilty if they do something for themselves. That's not what self-care is. Self-care is not self-indulgence. It's about refreshing and renewing your mind, your body, and your spirit.
Okay. Renewal.
That's what it is. Replenishment, refreshing. That's what it's about. And so when you look at it in that model, it'll help you not feel guilty. Okay. So some of the things that we talked about, that I talked to you about the other night, that I think everybody needs to hear is this: within the creation plan. Okay. And so for those of us who are creationists, who believe that we were created, that we are not, a big explosion, and because of some larva that kept evolving, we came here. I believe that we were created, intelligent design, and that we were that then we evolved. So I believe in both. I do believe in evolution, but it's evolution after creation. We were intelligently created, and mankind evolved. All right. But within that creation story, God did not just create, in the beginning that everything was dark, and God said, let there be light. He just didn't create light and the firmament and fish and land and water and all of that. He also put in that story the fact that on the seventh day he rested.
Yeah.
So what is important to see in creating, for us that are definitely, everybody, just in being productive, but these creatives out here like you who are always producing something, what God created in producing things, in being productive, is the notion of rest. And we cannot forget that a part of creation, these 7 days, was rest. That's where we get the word Sabbath, because the word rest in the Hebrew is the word Sabbath. Which means not only to, I wrote it down, I thought it was cool. It means to repose, to desist from exertion. All right. It also means to cease and to celebrate. Okay. So when we look at that text, what we find is that God did all this stuff. He looked back at what he did and was like, yo, that's dope. I'm about to chill. Okay. This is what we don't do. We keep going and we get to look back.
Yeah, that's what I was
saying. We don't rest.
We can't look back because we're moving so fast.
Exactly. And so we don't see that, man, that was good. I need to. Here's what my pastor says. Darius Daniel says this: Tim, when you move the ball down the field, you got to also take a break. You take a break after you move the ball down the field. And so that's important. And so we have to put that into our isness, that a part of my productivity is rest. I don't rest because I've been productive. I rest because it's a part of my productivity. Does that make sense? I ain't taking over. Go ahead.
You got it. So I was thinking about, for myself, I have to continue to remind myself, in order for me to produce the best for my clients or my family and even myself, I have to replenish. I have to rest, because if I don't, then I'm not going to give them my best.
Yes.
So if you keep going, you're doing good right now. You got A+ review, but at the end of it, it's not going to be that, because as you go down, your productivity goes down. And so if you keep working all night, work all night, you keep working all night, then, you're not going to get the results. So you have to take the time. I was talking to one of my clients this morning, and our graphic designer was taking off today. And she was like, so what are we going to do? I said, we're going to take off too. And that means we're going to hang up this phone because you're going to stop talking to me, because we off today. We off. Let's be off.
Be off.
Yeah. Let's just be off. We'll get it done on Monday.
Yeah. And so
if you don't do that, then you're never going to get it.
That's right. That's right. And what you said was, if you're going to be the best for your clients and your family. So what happens is, when we do not rest, we are robbing people of the best us. So we are robbing. Okay. But let me tell you who else we rob. We also rob God. And so here's this. Watch this. Psalm 127 talks about unless the Lord builds a house, they labor in vain that built it. You know what I'm saying? But then it goes on to say, it says it is useless to rise early and and go to bed late and to work your fingers to the bone. Don't you know he, God, enjoys giving rest to those he loves? So we rob God of an opportunity. You know, we used to
want God to not enjoy something that God does.
Come on. Because we always talking about be God in my life, show up, be great. He says, I'm trying to, but you won't let me give you rest.
Right. Kylan, don't you rob God. Jamel, don't you rob God.
Can't do it because we think that God is at his best when he's doing.
Right.
And God shows us that even why would God? And I don't even know if God so much needed rest on the seventh day as much as he wanted to create in the package of creation, of being productive, that rest is important. I mean, you know, when you look at it in the grand scheme of things, why would you need rest, God? I mean, you're God, you're all powerful. He's like, yeah, I don't need it, but I need to give you a model of what real productivity looks like.
Right.
It's doing and resting. It's creating something and then looking back at it and to be like, man, that's good. I'm going to take the day off because he did it. You know what I'm saying? And so we can't rob him. He loves to give us rest. And so we take from him that opportunity of something that God takes pleasure in because we're looking. Some of that lack of rest comes because what we do defines us. And we feel like if I'm doing nothing, I am nothing. And that ain't the truth.
Ouch. You stepped on my toes. You did. So those of you that are just joining us, welcome to the circuit. Let me tell you what's hot today is talking about the importance of self-care. So we have Tim Fryer, Pastor Timothy Fryer, Coach Timothy Fryer. We have him on today helping to get us straight about this topic. He mentioned earlier that a great point about self-renewal versus self-indulgence. Thank you, Jamel, for capturing this point because it's very important. Seeking balance in today's climate is like searching for a mythological lost stone if it isn't intentional. That's good. That's good. So please like this post, share it with someone, and definitely comment your points, your questions with us today. So Tim, I'm gonna send it back over to you to keep going because I know we are going to talk more about spiritually what this says to us, but also some practical things. So I know we got some time. So keep talking.
Well, good. I want to address, Jamel's thing about balance. You and I talk about balance. And so, and I totally agree with Jamel's point. I think it was pretty deep, that whole mythological lost stone. I'm going to use that. Thank you. Fantastic. I'll give you credit a couple of times, but after that is mine. Okay. So, and I think you're 100% right, but I do want to be intentional about this because when we look at rest, and like I told you at the start of this, guys, what I told Candy was, we're talking about this. I'm still trying to master it. I think we all are still trying to master it. And we'll talk about mastering later. But I think it's important to note that resting is not about balance. Resting is a part of the creation productivity package. You see what I'm saying? So if I'm a doer, I'm also a rester. And so it's really not, if you want to look at it, if you want to look at the thing, with 6 days he created, 1 day he rested. So, I mean, that wouldn't necessarily be a balance. I think the teaching there is it has to be a part of your whole outlook of being productive. Okay. So Candy and I talk about balance in the book that I talked about the last time I was on here, which is, it was called, Candy, the name of the book is called, The One Thing. He talks about balance being a myth, that it was a lie. That the truth of it is, if you're going to have extraordinary results in something, there's no such thing as balance, because there's going to be an imbalance if you're going to be extraordinary. So Michael Jordan is extraordinary in basketball. He could not have a balance of being up on the latest dances and the latest music because he was always on the court. So there is no balance, but we do have revolving priorities. Okay. Whole nother thing. I won't go back to that. But I think we need to put in our psyche that a part of our existence is just like we need to produce for life streams and resources, we also need to rest for life streams and resources.
Mm-hmm.
You get what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's what's most important, that we build it in. The thought of rest and self-care is not about indulging. It's not, because we think self-care is laying on the beach.
Mm-hmm.
Self-care could be like going for a drive.
Mm-hmm.
It could be, listen, with being quarantined in the house, self-care could just be sitting in the garage with the door closed, dark, listening to some music. Don't turn the power on. But I mean, if you're hot, you're going to have to open the door. You know what I'm saying? But I'm just saying, getting away, creating some space. That space could be in your closet, dark. That space could be on the toilet. You may have to make an announcement in the house. I am going to the bathroom. Don't knock on my door. Don't call my name. I need a minute. We got to build it in. Okay. So when we start talking about what the practical side of this, we talk about the prophet Habakkuk, and we often quote, write the vision, make it plain, right? Well, when we go back and look at that, he was wrestling with God on some stuff. He didn't appreciate the way God allowed some things to happen, and he wanted to talk to God, and he wanted an answer from God. The text says that he climbed up on the tower, the rampart, and he got over into the tower. That is his place. All right. That is your place, because there needs to be a place where you get refreshing and renewal. And he said, I'm going to climb up here and I will watch to see what he says, because resting and renewal is also about what I hear and what I see in the time that I'm away. Make sense? Okay. What you thinking? What you reading? Tell me what you're reading.
I'm reading these comments over here. Creative self-care. Yes, God. I'm laughing at my sister. But we do have a question.
Yeah.
How do you rest your mind?
All right.
Walker, I was just thinking that, because there is the physical self-care, but then when it comes to the mind, the battle that we have, let's talk about that. Thank you, Ms. Walker. That's great.
Yes, let's talk about it. So, Brenda, there is a book called Switch on Your Brain by Dr. Caroline Leaf, who is a neurocognitive scientist who's a believer. She's a Christian, and she believes that science is now catching up with the Bible. She talks about that one of the things that refreshes our brain and our mind, because remember now, our mind and our brain are two different things, and our mind is our will, our intellect, our creative ability. That's our soul. That's what our mind is. Okay. So she talks about the one way that we refresh our brain is by daydreaming. Daydreaming is the equivalent of us taking a deep sigh. So how do I rest my brain? I get somewhere still and I just let my mind think deeply. I got to come away from dishes and work. I got to come away from kids and family, and I just let my mind go. So there is something to some of the commercials that we see of people in the office, but they're daydreaming about being on the beach, because when you daydream, your mind inhales and breathes. So you have to be intentional about disconnecting from the here and now and let it go. Let your mind just wander. Does that make sense?
That's good. And this may be a little bit deeper, and I don't know if we want to go into this today, but a lot of times when you're stressed and dealing with anxiety and stuff, you have a hard time sleeping and your mind is running and you dream a lot. So that's totally different, because your mind is not exhaling at that moment. Your mind is actually saturated.
Sure. Some of that has to do with the subconscious. Our subconscious is like a big body of water. Our conscious mind is what jumps up out of that water while we're awake. It's like, oh, okay, this is what I can connect. But while that's happening, there's a huge body of water that is down there not dealing with. So some stuff we have to intentionally go get so we can deal with it and break some thoughts down. Whole nother conversation about breaking down thoughts. She has a 21-day brain detox in that book that happens 7 minutes a day to help break down negative thoughts and build new ones. Because you don't break down and let it be, you break it down to build new ones. Okay, we'll get to that another day.
And that's the Switch on Your Brain book.
Yeah, that's Switch on Your Brain. Yes, it's Switch on Your Brain. The second half of the book is a 7-day detox. I mean, a 21-day detox that happens only 7 minutes at a time, which is really dope. I used that a couple of years ago, and my pastor turned me on to it, and it was a lifesaver in my mind. Okay.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, it's a lifesaver because we get the opportunity, guys, and this is probably going a little bit deeper than we wanted to go today. We get the opportunity based on the text of scripture that we pull down every thought and every imagination that exalts itself against the knowledge of God. Okay, so some of those thoughts are things that jump in your mind that keeps you going, but the knowledge of God says, I want you to have peace. So he says we get the opportunity and we have the power to reach up and pull that down and make it submit to what God says. But the cool thing about that, and when you look at the text, in order to pull down a stronghold, I got to put my hand on it, which is me admitting that it exists, which comes against that whole kind of thing of, oh no, you rebuke that thought. It does not, I don't receive that. Yeah, you do. It's real because your thoughts take up real estate in your brain. And in order to pull it down, you got to touch it and sit with it just for a few minutes to say, you know what? This is the way I've been thinking, but this is not the way I should be thinking. And now I pull it down. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
That helps. That also helps our mind. When we say I shouldn't be thinking that way, let's own the thought.
Yeah.
I own it.
Trying to.
Yeah. Because you don't.
A lot of stuff in life. You just keep pushing it to the side, push it to the side. You're not dealing with it.
Right. And we call that rebuking and binding. That ain't nothing but avoidance in Jesus' name. That don't work.
Mm-hmm.
How you gonna cover something in the blood if you don't put it in your hand and put the blood on it?
Mm.
You get what I'm saying? And so we ain't trying to get churchy, but I'm just saying what I'm saying.
I mean, it is what it is.
So yeah, that kind of helps. It helps. And so understanding that you got a subconscious that kind of pops up. And sometimes that subconscious stuff pops up that gives us an awareness that, wow, I didn't even know that was there. This happened to me years ago. I didn't know that was still there. So that happens when we're dreaming. You know, I find that the nights where my mind will not stop, you know, those are the nights where I intentionally breathe. I'm inhaling and exhaling while I'm laying there, and I listen to my breath opposed to listening to my mind. And next thing you know, you're dozing back off to sleep.
That's good.
Because your body needs that oxygen too. I mean, that's on the physical side of things.
Mm-hmm. That's good. All right. So we talked about Habakkuk. We talked about our thoughts, our mind, that finding balance.
Mm-hmm.
When you were here the last time, you said something that I really have been trying my best to do, and I keep getting caught up. But that is sectioning your day, planning out your day. So I put all of my meetings on my calendar to make sure I know where I'm supposed to be in Zoom land, and what calls I'm supposed to be on. But I have not yet put on my calendar those 4 hours that I need to focus on, you know, studying for my exam, planning out time to work on proposals for new clients. Mm-hmm. So those are the things that are at the top of my list, but I get caught up because we wake up in the morning, reading emails and responding. Mm-hmm. Your day gets totally off. Mm-hmm. So how can we like redesign the calendar so that we're doing better, you know?
Oh, so there's a few things. What you talked about is in that book, The One Thing by Gary Keller. And he says that one thing. And so here's the premise of the book. The premise of the book asks a question. What is the one thing that you can do that makes everything else on your list unnecessary or like less important or unnecessary? What is the one thing that you can do that kind of minimizes all the other stuff on your to-do list? So it's a good book for everybody. He does challenge the whole concept of balance. He talks about time management, all this. Really great book. But he says that he has found that when you concentrate or put your attention on that one thing, you should be putting the attention on that one thing for 4 hours a day. So he says the first 4 hours. He does the first 4 hours, which is, it could be building him. So he does some his spiritual disciplines, and then whatever that work is for the day. He says that there is a company that has adopted that, and they do not do morning meetings. We don't check email. When you come to work, the first 4 hours of the day, you do your job. So we're not putting out fires for other departments. We're not even meeting with them until after like 1 o'clock. And so and what they found is that their productivity as a company has gone up because everybody does their job for the first 4 hours of the day. And then they put some other stuff on, on the calendar after lunch. So I think in order to be productive, it is important that we create boundaries and hold ourselves to those boundaries. And I'm not telling you it's not easy, but that's something that we keep pressing toward the mark as it relates to these boundaries. So if your one thing is, let's say, studying, since you said studying, and you got something coming up, that first 4 hours, you say, I'm waking up at 6. I'm going to have my study time with God from 6 to 6:15, whatever that is. And then you're going to take the rest of that, maybe another 30 minutes to do your workout, your physical workout. And then we got from 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. I'm not answering the phone. I'm not putting out fires for other people. I'm not responding to text messages. And I'm just going to focus on my work. There's another book called Deep Work. I think I told you before, I haven't read it yet. I still ain't got to it. But the concept is teaching yourself how to work through until you're either finished or your brain says to you, hey, you need to take a break. So that means get the stuff out of your room. So one of the things he does say in there that made me want to read the book is he's like, maybe you need to get that phone out of the room, because even though you got the discipline not to check the text message, you're taking energy from your work to keep you from picking up the phone.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? And see, that's stuff that we don't think. It takes energy not to pick it up. But if it's not in the room or if it's off, you don't even know. So now we're setting some boundaries in our lives, in our work. And we're setting points that says, hey, I'll work from this point to that point uninterrupted. And let me see how far I can get. Okay. So that's one thing. The other thing is mastering your calendar. Here's what my pastor taught me. As a matter of fact, he makes me buy every year a physical calendar that we write in, which I'm a techie. I don't write in no calendars. But he said, here's what I want you to do. I want you to take this calendar and from January to December, put in every birthday, everything for the family or personal in this time. So you put in birthdays, you put in family reunions, you put in your vacation, and you put in your breaks. Okay, vacations and breaks are two different things. He says, after you put those things down, then you get the business calendar and the church calendar. And you build those calendars around your personal calendar so you can create your breaks and your vacation in there. And that way, if you got it on the calendar, then you go with it. Bill Hybels says in his book called I can't think of the name of the book. Bill Hybels teaches us that anything you want to get better at, you schedule. So if you want to get better at having rest, schedule it. Schedule your breaks. So remember, after you move the ball down the field, you schedule a break. So right now you may say, hey, I got through the summer, or I get through this week is a hard week and I got to do this and I got all this to do. Once I get through it, maybe you say I'm going to schedule a day off, or maybe you'll schedule 3 days off. Because you got to master your calendar, and that also helps with self-care. If you don't care about you, you can't be mad when nobody else does.
Exactly.
Y'all work me to death around here. Y'all don't care nothing about me. You don't care nothing about you. You ain't telling nobody, hey, really, come on. You know what I'm saying? Even Jesus cared. Jesus cared to the degree that the Bible says that he wakes up early and he goes to a solitary place to pray. Because our isness needs that refreshing and that replenishing. It's important. Listen, our emotions are really jacked up because we don't rest enough.
Yeah.
We're in an emotional fight. And sometimes you self-care is turning off the news. Self-care is, being intentional about, hey, I'm not going to deal with this today. I'm not going to listen to the news. I'm not going to deal with politics. I'm not, maybe not even dealing with Corona today. I need everybody to stay in the house so I don't have to think about Corona right now. But we got to do what we have to do to be intentional, to have peace here and peace here, you know, because here's what I believe. I believe that when we are emotionally unstable, it comes out and works out in our relationships.
Yes. So
and so you wonder why there's no peace in the house, because there's no peace in you. You know? And so we're celebrating the 4th of July and the rockets red glare, bombs bursting in air. But what happens when that's inside of you? You know, when the holiday is gone, but you still got fireworks on the inside, you got to rest.
Because if not, your response will be ugly.
Exactly.
Like lash out at the people that are close to us. We spank our kids or fuss at them about little things that, you know, may be wrong, but it comes out differently.
Right.
Even at work, you know, things come out differently to your coworkers and such, because you are to the limit. You know, I remember when I was in school, the teacher used to say, "I've about had it to here," and she would hold the end of her hair, and I'd be like, "You need to lay down."
Right. That's right.
To do that ourselves, like, and it's okay to step away from everybody else, turn your phone on, do not disturb, or turn it off, and just take a minute, take a breather.
And it's not just okay, it's needful.
Yeah, it's necessary.
Yeah, just as necessary as it is cleaning the house or doing homework now that you're homeschooling the kids and all the other stuff that has to be done. It is just as necessary. And that's what God teaches us. God says, I have given attention to this world. I have created mankind. And now I'm about to chill. Now, all the best to me. I'm getting ready to sit down somewhere.
So the crazy part about it is, in this world of technology, you know, it used to be when you left work at work because that big old computer was sitting on your desk.
Right.
So there was nothing that you could do after you got home.
That's right.
On the weekends, only when you were in the office for those 8 or 9 hours. Now we have everything accessible. All our emails on the phone. We got the phone right in front of us. The calendar is dinging. Our kids have phones, so then they're, you know, reaching out to us. You have your laptop that you keep in the bed with you.
Yes.
So, you know, you're constantly working.
Yes.
You know, that's a hard part. That makes it difficult to turn your brain off because you have all these things accessible to you. So as soon as I get a thought, oh, I didn't send this email, it could be 3 a.m. Just roll over and grab the laptop.
Yes.
You know, and so that interrupted sleep makes, you know, when the alarm goes off the next morning, it makes it hard.
No boundaries.
We got to find that. That's a whole nother system of balance that you have to create for yourself.
Yeah, no boundaries. And because we're working from home and the office is in one room and the world or the family life is in the next room, and we go in between all day, that while I do understand that, you know, we have to sometimes adjust our lives to do what we got to do for work and for family, intentionality is the key. So my boys are with me this week. And so we are, of course, we ain't going nowhere. We just chilling and we shooting BB guns in the backyard, which has been just absolutely amazing. But anyway, so night one, when they got here, my oldest Kyle stays up like all night. He's just been one of those kids always just like stay up all night when it's summertime. But, you know, we did that as kids too. But his, I feel like, is like not right. Like he needs medicine or something. But anyway, he went to bed. I think it was Monday morning. He went to bed at 10 minutes to 10, had been up all night. He didn't wake up till like 5 o'clock in the afternoon. And so Jonathan and I had breakfast. We had lunch. We had watched TV, movies. I had a whole day. He wakes up and I was like, good morning. And he said, I know. I was like, what? I'm not fussing. He's like, yeah, but because I stayed up all last night, I missed time with you today.
Oh.
And he said, I'm not going to do that anymore. I'm going to make myself lay down because I want to make the most of the time I have with you. Intentionality. So we have to be intentional in our rest, in our getting rest, in our separating from things. We got to be intentional. And so we can't fuss at I'm just tired and y'all are doing this to me. Y'all don't care nothing about me. Again, you got to care about you, and what you allow, people will follow. So there's one thing in coaching that we talk about, and as we talk about getting better over a long period of time, we call it zapping tolerations. Because there are some things that we tolerate in our lives when we could just zap it and get away from it, such as your room is a mess and you know that your room drains you, that energy drains you when it's a mess, but you've been so busy. So now you are so busy, you're tolerating something that zaps your energy, and you got to zap the toleration so the toleration won't zap you. So you got to stop and say, I'm going to clean up this room because it takes my energy. So we got to zap toleration. So, unforgiveness is a toleration that you got to zap. You let unforgiveness sit in you and it drains you. You keep thinking about it. We got to get rid of that. Listen, forgiveness has nothing to do with them. It has everything to do with you. Forgiveness is not a contract. It's not an agreement. It's a decision. Okay. That's a whole nother show. Right. But we have to zap tolerations, and in mastering our calendar, in mastering our day, in mastering our prayer life, our disciplines, our spiritual disciplines, we are saying no to some other stuff so we can say yes to things that really add to us.
So finding that balance and scheduling some time to breathe.
Mastering your schedule.
Yeah, even in the middle of the day. And being intentional when you schedule your lunchtime, turn everything else off, because we get to the point where we eat through lunch. We're checking emails while we're taking calls while we're eating. So taking that time. K. Monique, I knew you would love zapping tolerations. I didn't know you were watching, but you literally popped in my mind when he started talking about that. So we have to take these nuggets and put them to work. So let's see how we're going to do it. Let's see what Leah is saying. Movement is also a key element in self-care that gets forgot about. That's true. I ain't forget about it. Even if it's a quick walk or a few minutes of dancing, yoga, or stretching, getting your blood pumping, flowing, and your endorphins moving helps set the tone, opens your mind, and chemically gets you set in a positive zone. Your body will get hooked on those feelings, those feel-good endorphins, and you will feel the difference if you don't do it. That is so true. And I have a friend who has done that in the last few months. She has totally dug into working out, and she looks amazing, but she says she also feels amazing. So that helped to balance her mind. Hey, Kimberly.
So let's talk about that a little bit, Candy, because I did a teaching series many years ago that caused me to start looking at rest and stress. And so what has happened is we have reversed some things. So in the day of the caveman, when they, let's say they came in contact with the saber-toothed tiger, there is something that your body releases, more sugar. It's called adrenaline. And so some things go down and stuff like sugar comes up to give you the energy to fight or run. That's the whole fight or flight. But the problem is it was released in us during stressful moments. So then when I had to fight or I had to run, it would eat that up. So all the sugar that was released in my body to give me the energy to do it gets burned off because I am fighting or running. Well, in our bodies today, our stress comes when we're sitting down. We don't have stress because a tiger is running after us. We got stress because of what we're watching on TV or the work that we have to do. And so we get stressed. This stuff is released in us and we're not burning it off. So movement is key to our emotional place. So stress is designed to help us. But the problem is the stress that we have, we don't do anything to get rid of. So stress comes on us to say, hey, now is the time that you're going to have to fight or run. We don't have that right now because everything we do is sitting down. We're not working outside. We're not running up on a snake or a bear. You know what I mean? So we do have to make sure that moving is important, that moving is a part of our boundaries that we set, because when we walk more and move more, our mind gets clear. See, that's a part of that space. Remember, I told you that Habakkuk went up and got him a space. Jesus went along and got him a space that helped him. When we walk, you can see the greatness of God.
Yes.
You know, you see like, wow, look at that tree. You know, look at that. Somebody posted the other day was a tree trunk, and they was like, can you find the snake on this tree trunk? Well, even though I don't want to run up on a snake, I'm still amazed at how the snake could change his colors to fit in to stay safe. That's an intelligent design. So when you're walking or you're spending time outside, you're seeing that, God, you're absolutely amazing. And if you care enough to give the snake what he needs to make sure he stays safe, surely you're intentional about giving me what I need. And I just got to take it.
What you say earlier, tell the people that just joined in, you dare not rob God of what he enjoys.
I'm trying to tell you. Because see, we want all this enjoyment, but God wants some too. The reason you like enjoyment is because he liked it. You didn't make that up, he did. So then when we don't rest and we don't sit down, he loves to give his people rest.
Right.
Hebrews teaches that there is a rest, there is a Sabbath that happens in him that many of us don't even stop to get our spirits. I'm teaching Sunday about this whole thing about reconnecting and finding what's missing. Because oftentimes when we're looking for something that's missing in us, we look in the wrong places. We look in the refrigerator. We look at the hair house to get our hair colored and dyed. We go look in the shopping in the mall. But there's something else that God says, no, it's missing. And there is a homing device in you. When you get too far away from me, you start reaching for stuff, and you just need to be intentional as to where you reach.
Yeah. Okay. So of course, we've gone over our time for today, but it was well worth it. So I hope you guys got as much out of this as I did. And at the beginning of today, I said, Tim, I need you to check me. So I've been checked. My toes have been stepped on. And I have a list of things that I need to be more intentional about doing. And so I hope you have too. So Tim, thank you so much for joining us today. Please tell the people how they can find you on social media.
Hey guys, I'm at Facebook and IG, Timothy Fryer, Fryer. You see it right there, Timothy Fryer. I'm also, you can find me, our Regroup page is on Facebook at The Regroup out there. We also, theregroup.net. You can find us online. If you want coaching and want to touch base, we could do that. And also our church is Christ Centered Church. You can find us at BeChristCentered.TV, and then on the social media platforms, we're Christ Centered Church.
Awesome. Hey guys, I'm wishing you a God day. So have just that, make it happen. We'll see you next week. Have a good one.
Bye, y'all.